Good morning, students. I hope you're all well today and keeping yourself safe. Few months ago, you all had taken part in the Climate Action Project, and we had also celebrated Diwali with Dharohar. I hope you remember these. Well, we submitted the details of both the projects for the Global Education Exchange event of Microsoft in February 2021 under the category Tech for Good Challenge. And I'm extremely happy to announce that DPS International was selected as the overall showcase school winner for this year's Tech for Good Challenge. This is a huge achievement, and the award was announced by Mr. Anthony Salcedo, Vice President Worldwide Education Microsoft. This award has brought us global recognition, and it acknowledges each one of you as a change maker. So a huge congratulations to you. Let's continue doing the amazing work you are doing and also encourage others to consider how they too can use technology for the good in the classroom. Well done, students and teachers. I'm so proud of all of you. God bless.
reality check. This is for all of us here. Let me take you to some of the recent headlines from the website NASA Global Climate Change, Vital Signs of the Planet. January 2021, we saw that it has been assessed that 2020 was the warmest year on record. According to this, the Earth's global average surface temperature in 2020 was tied with 2016 as the warmest year on record, according to NASA analysis. Further on, land ecosystems are becoming less efficient at absorbing carbon dioxide. We can continue looking at these headlines and see how we are impacting the life of animals and birds around us. Noise and light pollution from humans alter bird reproduction, potentially affecting the birds' responses to climate change. Arctic animals' movement patterns are shifting in different ways as the climate changes. Researchers have found that the movement patterns of animals in the region are shifting, which could disrupt entire ecosystem. I think this is enough for us for the day, a food for thought, which gives us a direction as we move on in the assembly.
Climate change is one of the most important issues facing us today. Scientists have shown that, starting with the Industrial Revolution, our increasing use of fossil fuels is increasing the warmth of planet Earth. We are in fact pushing Mother Nature into new territory at a rate that she has likely never seen before. We need to change, and we means everybody. As individuals, the most powerful weapon we have in this battle is the ability to control our own carbon footprint. And remember, as individuals, we number in the billions. Our carbon footprint refers to the greenhouse gases released into the atmosphere because of what we do or buy. What are these greenhouse gases? Carbon dioxide, or CO2, is the most dominant of the greenhouse gases we produce. CO2 is emitted when we burn fossil fuel to heat a home, generate electricity, or drive to the store. The next most abundant gas is methane, or CH4. It's the main component of natural gas, but it's also produced when organic matter decomposes in an absence of oxygen, which happens in flooded rice paddies or in landfill. And animals like cows and sheep produce methane as a major product in their digestive tracts. It makes its way into the atmosphere via what you might call the usual channels. Then there's nitrous oxide, N2O, also known as laughing gas. Nitrous oxide is produced when bacteria break down the nitrogen compounds in soils in the oceans. The use of nitrogen fertilizers in farming is increasing the rate at which nitrous oxide is being added to the atmosphere. Methane and nitrous oxide are emitted into the atmosphere in much smaller quantities than CO2, but they still have a significant effect on climate. When comparing the different impacts of these gases, we usually refer to carbon dioxide equivalence. This is a measure that is based on the potential that each gas has to contribute to global warming. This graph shows the equivalent amount of human-induced global warming attributed to the different gases. So we know humans are causing greenhouse gas concentrations to increase, and this in turn is contributing to planetary warming. But what can you and I do as individuals? How can we reduce our carbon footprint? First off, we need to understand how a carbon footprint is calculated. Let's look at sending a text message. Direct climate change impacts occur when we use a product, in this case my cell phone, to write a text message, and the recipient's phone to read it. This requires the use of electricity. If that electricity was generated by burning coal or natural gas, the text message has a carbon footprint. Indirect impacts occur during the production and distribution of the cell phones. For example, fossil fuels may have been used to supply power to the phone factory and then to transport the phone to the retailer. And then if I drove out to the mall to buy it, well, as you can imagine, calculating the carbon footprint of an action can be challenging. But just being able to make informed decisions when choosing one activity over another is what's really important. For example, I knew that sending a text message was greener than driving across town to share my news. In British Columbia, our households account for 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions. Let's look at some of the choices we can make to reduce that carbon footprint. Food production and consumption are large contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. When shopping, consider these 3 factors. How was it produced? From where did it come? And how did it get here? The term food miles is often used to describe the potential greenhouse gas impact of agricultural products. Generally speaking, locally produced foods are associated with fewer food miles. Foods that arrive by air have a much higher carbon footprint than those that arrive by ship. Likewise, produce that has been grown in heated greenhouses also has a high carbon footprint. Meat and dairy products have high carbon footprints because of the methane produced by cattle, and if there's deforestation to provide grazing land. But surprisingly, the easiest way to reduce greenhouse gas emissions associated with our food supply isn't watching what we consume. Instead, it's reducing what we don't consume. According to the Food Waste in Canada study, an estimated 40% of food is wasted after leaving the farm. Methane may be emitted when waste food decays in the landfills, so discarding food makes total emissions in the production and consumption cycle even worse. So, plant a garden, buy local, and eat your leftovers. Okay, so we know about the impact when food is flown to its destination. Well, we can be part of that same problem. Tourism accounts for an estimated 5% of global greenhouse gas emissions, and air travel is the most significant contributor to that percentage. Taking off and landing uses the most fuel. So booking multiple hops will emit more greenhouse gases. Based on average ridership, a train is usually the greenest mode of transportation, followed by an automobile carrying multiple passengers. However, if we include emissions associated with building infrastructure like rail lines and roads, the actual carbon footprint of a vacation can increase significantly. Transporting a family across the country or across the world burns a lot of fossil fuel and is expensive. Luckily for British Columbians, we live in one of the world's top tourist destinations. So think about pitching a tent in one of our great natural parks, or take the time to re-explore your own city. Nothing beats staycations. The carbon footprint of driving is influenced by several factors. First is the number of people in the car. Carpooling is an opportunity to save money and the planet. It even saves time when HOV lanes are available. Surprisingly, about 50% of the fuel consumed in city driving is used during acceleration. To reduce this, use the most efficient route, combine trips, and travel at off-peak times. Reducing idling time is also important. Idling for 10 minutes a day can produce a 1/4 ton of CO2 emissions each year. Maintaining your vehicle and checking your tire pressure at least once a month can reduce fuel consumption by as much as 10%. When buying a car, consider its city and highway gas rating. Smaller cars, eco and hybrid versions of cars, and now electric cars are available from almost every manufacturer. Starting off on the right set of wheels can save you many hundreds or even thousands of dollars a year. And instead of just passing that old jalopy on to someone else, Scrap It BC provides incentives to move older, higher polluting vehicles off the road. And finally, traveling by transit, bicycle, or even walking benefits more than just the Earth's atmosphere. It allows us to enjoy the added bonuses of physical activity and social interaction while saving money. Heating our homes is often our largest use of household energy. When our heating bills arrive each winter, we are reminded of the amount of energy it takes to keep warm. We are lucky in BC that most of our electricity is generated by hydro. Heating from electricity means your carbon footprint is low for now, but the demand for more electricity is creating the need for additional sources of energy. Homes that heat with oil or natural gas currently have a larger carbon footprint. Whatever your heating source, it is beneficial to use less fuel. So before we go any further, let's put on a sweater and turn down the thermostat by 1 degree. When you go to bed at night or leave on vacation, turn it down another 3 or 4 degrees. Draft proofing by plugging air leaks is a cheap and effective way to reduce energy consumption and has a fast payback time. In cold weather, use ceiling fans to distribute heat that collects against the ceiling. This will create a more consistent temperature in the room. If your feet are cold, your body will feel cold. By placing area rugs on cold floors, you may be less likely to crank up the thermostat. Making informed choices about transportation, food, and energy use at home is one of the best opportunities we have as individuals to reduce our carbon footprint. Every little thing we can do to reduce our individual or household carbon footprint will help to combat global warming. And just imagine the impact if hundreds of millions of us, particularly in the wealthy developed countries, were to join that parade. You can make a difference.
A little effort each day will add up to big and impactful results. Remember, every single person's effort to keep our planet green and clean counts. In some instances, you may not be able to feel or even see the impact immediately, but deep down we all know that our effort, be it small or big, visible or invisible, will have a positive effect on our planet Earth in the long run. Like a pledge to not throw away plastic in which your bakery product like bread was packed straight away in your bin. What do? Try to use it for different purposes like packing food for giving away to someone. On an average, 1 to 2 packets in every household comes in every week. You can imagine the number already. If all of us were to pledge right away to try to reuse it one more time before it reaches the bin. Small effort of 1 to 2 packets per week multiplied by maybe just 100 of us who will take it ahead. We are already talking about 100 to 200 packets per household per week. This can go on, so on and so forth. Be the change that you want to see, rightly said by Gandhiji. I'm glad to share our school's collaboration with Fairtrade India Schools program. Fairtrade India is a not-for-profit organization that aims to promote responsible consumption and production by way of empowering farmers and working towards eradicating the social and environmental exploitation in our food and fashion supply chains. Fairtrade Schools program is a huge international network with over 1,000 registered Fairtrade schools in just UK. The program aims to make citizens more aware of the global farming crisis and of the power that everyone has as responsible citizens to empower the people in food and fashion supply chains. A Fairtrade school is committed to fair trade values and practices. As places of learning, schools can help young citizens understand our impact on the planet and society. It means young people like you understand how trade and our food systems work and how we can work together to make it fairer. Becoming a fair trade school means joining a worldwide movement, a movement where young people like all of us here learn that however young we are, we have the power to make a difference in the world. It offers a great opportunity to look at global issues such as where our food comes from and how we are connected to people around the world.
There's a lot of talk about sustainability at the moment, but what does it all mean? And how does fair trade fit in? Well, sustainability is about more than the environment, in the same way that fair trade is about more than just fair prices. They're both about people and meeting their needs today without compromising the needs of people in the future. To do this, our economies, societies and the environment all need to be sustainable. And you can't tackle any of these on their own as they're closely interconnected. So, for fair trade, sustainability is about working on all of them. Whether it's fighting for a living wage for workers, training farmers to be more resilient to climate change, or enabling communities to invest in education. fair trade empowers farmers and workers to face a range of economic, environmental and social challenges. It's also about supporting and challenging businesses and governments to make trade fairer and inspiring shoppers to think a bit more about what they buy. These are all foundations of sustainability. Let's give you an example. This is Teresa, a fair trade coffee farmer in Nicaragua. She wants the same things from work that you do: security, equality, and a decent income so she can build a stronger future for her family. But this isn't always easy. Farmers face all sorts of challenges and often don't have resources or the support to tackle them. So, how does fair trade make a difference? Well, Teresa's a member of a fair trade certified cooperative, an organised group of farmers who support each other, sharing knowledge about how to grow and sell coffee. This gives Teresa security, as she can sell better quality beans and earn at least the fair trade minimum price to cover the cost of producing them. She's also learning how to look after and adapt to the changing environment, which makes her livelihood more stable and her farm more environmentally friendly. Teresa's cooperative want women and men to gain equally from farming, so they've used the Fair Trade Premium, the extra money they get to spend on business or community projects, to support women like Teresa to market their coffee and gain more independence. Teresa also used a small loan scheme funded by the Premium to buy more land, which has allowed her to increase her productivity and income and make her a more reliable supplier. These economic, environmental and social impacts contribute to a more secure, equal and sustainable future for Teresa, her family and her community. And it goes wider than that. Fairtrade works with over 1 million other farmers like Teresa every year. Fairtrade also supports hundreds of thousands of workers on large plantations to improve their working conditions, their standard of living and their confidence by making sure they're treated properly. They also get the premium to invest in building a better life for themselves and their communities. So, whether you're a business managing your supply chain or a shopper deciding what goes in your basket, choosing Fairtrade contributes to a more sustainable world for us all. So there you have it. That's why fair trade means sustainable trade.
I am taking this opportunity to let you know about an initiative in one of the residential complexes in Gurgaon. I've been an integral part of the composting process. So these here are custom-made compost bins made of wire, and inside them are dried leaves that have been picked up from the garden area and the roads. They've all been stacked together, and once the bin was half full, there was a compost starter that was put in. In the case of these two bins here, we used cow dung because of the rich microbe composition in it. If you as students want to do it at home, you could always use curd, which also has a good microbial composition to execute composting on a smaller scale. Once the bin was completely full of leaves, it was kind of closed on the top to avoid any excessive flow of water or maybe a downpour of the rain, to keep the entire leaf collected garbage dry. It's going to take about 6 to 8 weeks for this dry collection to get converted into compost. The microbes inside are going to start breaking down the leaves into very rich, moist, dark brown, slightly clingy material, which is the organic, which is actually the compost, which will subsequently be put into the flower beds and all the other the base of the trees. Couple of things that were kept in mind. The leaves that were collected were slightly dried so that there was very little moisture for a very quick decomposition process. Large, thick twigs were avoided because of the rich carbon content. They require a lot of nitrogen to break them down. The leaves also were crushed. Very fine grass was not put in. It was put under the trees for giving a layer of mulch to preserve the moisture. And once a week, this entire bin is given a rigorous shake to allow oxygen to be incorporated into the process of decomposition. We are not looking at, if it starts smelling, then that's a cause of worry, because which indicates that there is anaerobic digestion happening and the compost is actually rotting instead of being converted into organic manure. So I'll leave you with these little few pointers. You can see this leaf collection is for a week. So essentially we've got 2 weeks of bin collection here, and we are in the process of setting up more bins. The complex for now is zero waste generating. We have a complete composting plant as well, which collects the household vegetable peel wet waste and converts it into manure, where the MCG then picks up, buys that compost and uses it either to sell in the market or for its own common areas of plants that are available on your little green stretches on the street. You could try this initiative. It's very simple, very easy to execute. All it needs is a couple of hours, maybe in a month, for some bit of supervision. This is my give back to society. It's sustainable, doesn't require a lot of understanding. All it requires is some helping hands in the form of the Mali and some RWA support for these bins. Hope you enjoyed the initiative and feel inspired to pick it up in your respective living residential areas. Thank you.
Good morning, children. This year, let's decide to make small things matter. And let's begin with reducing our carbon footprint by controlling our electricity usage. We all like to remove non-essential lights. We do not like to switch on non-essential lights, but there are so many times we need light and we do not want to use our precious electricity for those areas. We have discovered this solar bulb. This has a solar panel here which charges itself during the day, and at night if you hang it against the wall, it has motion sensors. So the minute there is a movement, these bulbs come on, the solar panel bulbs come on, and they light up the entire area. Apart from that one-time cost to purchase these bulbs that we've spent, we have no additional recurrent expenditure on these. We have reduced our carbon footprint. We have managed to save some money in the process. We have become ethical citizens of this planet Earth. Let's do small things like this to make an impact on the world.
Dear students, we are sharing a Wakelet link with you all. See the chats for the details, and we will be mailing you as well. What you need to do is you need to submit the details of any impactful action for CAP that you may have taken over the past few months.